What were you thinking at the age of 17?
I'm never sure whether I should answer this question, abstractly or actually tell you, my position when I was 17.
Maybe 50% honesty. Can we do?
Alofa lava, my name is Alofa Solifai. I am a Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Commerce conjoint student, majoring in Classical and Ancient History, Mathematics, Econ, and Finance. Today, I am joined with Tim and Ethan to discuss technology. Would you two like to introduce yourselves?
I'm Tim Dare. I'm a professor in the philosophy department here at Auckland, and I work one day a week with the Ministry of Social Development in Wellington, helping them with data ethics issues.
Great. Kia ora, everybody. I'm Ethan Plout. I teach in the communication program, and I bring a mix of journalism and computer programming and arts and different perspectives to that work.
So the overarching theme of this video is technology. What I want to know is, how does communications, or how does philosophy look at technology or the evolution of technology and the implications of this?
So in communication, we would think about the evolution from, say, the printing press to the telegraph to the radio onto computers and what's happening today and what's changed. A lot of the problems are the same as what they used to be, but some of them are new. So examples of new problems, obviously social media is broken 15 different ways, which young people know because they spend their time there. Another one that's been in the news is facial recognition. And with facial recognition, there are questions of race that come up and whether it is unfair in terms of how it does or doesn't identify people from different backgrounds. Also, people of different gender identities may or may not be recognized as well, which is something that I actually have an exhibition at Auckland Museum right now. So anyone out there who wants to go visit the museum and learn about this, there's a cell phone. It's cartoonishly huge, about like this, that's mounted to one of the walls. It's a touch screen, and you can interact with it and learn some things about how facial recognition actually works. And this is, I think, an important thing the university does, is try to reach out to the public and share understanding of these changing technologies and these problems with everybody.
So I think contemporary data technology just has enormous implications for people's lives. It makes it possible for us to do things which were just beyond our power only a few decades ago. We can use algorithms to predict things. We can gather information seamlessly. So where once information was gathered as people moved around the world, are very discreet. Someone would sit down and talk to you. Now, as I move around the world using my phone, tagging in and off the bus and so on and so on, there's data being gathered. We can use technology to read massive bodies of text and so on. So the implications are immense. Some of them are positive, and some of them less so. And so one of the things philosophy might have to say about this is really focusing on the ethical issues around here, so around the technology. So what are the threats, what are the promises, what are the benefits, is at least one thing that philosophy can bring to this discussion, I think.
What other courses or topics do your students get to look at within communications and philosophy that are really interesting?
Well, all of them. So philosophy is a very wide discipline. As I say, we do logic, so formal analysis of argumentation. And then there's history of philosophy, so there'll be overlap with the sorts of things you're studying. Ancient philosophy looks at similar issues. And then there's ethics. So a whole range of papers about theoretical ethics or applied ethics, and then there's metaphysics, so the theory about what there is, how we should understand the things there are in the world. I like to think in philosophy there's something for every interest. People have different interests, but there is something that'll appeal to them.
In communication, students learn not only how computers work, but how to use them, how to make media, how to present themselves in the world, how to analyze the things that they're seeing in the media, how to look at advertising both at the level of an individual ad and also at the structure of the industry, to raise critical questions about how that works, how it is helping us, how it's helping business, and also potentially the ways in which it's problematic as well. I teach a class where students make Twitter bots and animated GIFs and other digital objects while reading critical takes on what those objects are and what they do in the world. We have some new courses that are launching next year, the year after that, that will be focused on communication in the Maori and Pacifica worlds and bringing those different perspectives to digital media and other ways that we communicate with each other. So I think both when students think of the media, they think of the kind of classes that you might take, that's there, but there's also some things that you might not know until you have a look.
So there are lots of subjects in a thing like the Bachelor of Arts. There's history, English, ancient, and classic, and communications and so on. The common ground is that we're teaching people to look at material, identify the arguments in them, and work out how to see objections and positions and how to respond.
If I was to come into university and I wanted to do communications or philosophy, what are, I guess, the vocational pathways that I'm looking at, or what other subjects can I couple along with communications or with philosophy to open my doors?
Well, because as I've said, I think what philosophy is trying to teach people to do is to reason well and argue, present positions. Philosophy fits with almost everything. So I have a conjoint law philosophy degree. I think the skills are very similar. The sorts of skills you're employing in law, reading cases, identifying the arguments, imagining what you might say, or giving advice to clients, reading documents and working out what they're about and giving advice. It's very similar to the sorts of things I do giving ethics advice. So law is an obvious, I think, pair for philosophy, though that's my own background. But I think that'll, similarly. So you've got a business strand to your studies, and philosophy and business, I'm sure, goes together. Again, anything where you're interested in reading documents, identifying the arguments with them, seeing the weaknesses and the strengths, then disciplines like philosophy, and again, I want to say most of the other disciplines in a Bachelor of Arts actually will help you in those more vocational endeavours.
One other way that I think it's important to talk about this same thing, just to reiterate one of the points that Tim was making, is that we don't know what the future of work looks like. Students who are coming into school right now, my opinion is, if they're picking a degree specifically to lead to a single job that they think is going to be what they're going to do with their life, they've missed the boat, right? We don't know what the working world is going to look like in 10, 20, 30 years on the kind of education that Tim is talking about, which I think communication also aims to provide, but in a different way, is an education that prepares students to move through a world that's unpredictable.
Yeah.
So one bit of practical advice here is, obviously there are some things you have to study vocationally. So if you want to be a lawyer, you have to do a law degree and so on. But one bit of advice you might give to young students is do something you like. Make sure that you're doing things you're interested in. You will position yourself better having done well in a discipline that you love, and you're more likely to do well in it if you like it than you will by doing poorly in the right distance, in the right discipline. So one bit of advice I think is of course we should have vocational concerns, but don't be led astray in thinking that you should narrowly focus on something for a particular job. It's not a good way to succeed at university, and it's probably not a good way to prepare yourself for the future working world.
I guess I would give a similar kind of answer, which is maybe a little frustrating, which is that communication is useful in whatever you do, right? What kind of business can you find that doesn't have people who work in communication? So if we're talking about picking a pathway towards a job, that's one way of thinking about it. Like philosophy, which helps you to form arguments, communication helps people to come together around hard questions and to work them out and to communicate, both sitting at a table like this, and also, speaking across the world, whether that's through images or text or other ways that we tackle hard problems.
What is the one thing that you would hope students take out of studying philosophy or studying communications besides what you've said?
I hope our graduates leave feeling that they have studied and learned something about the ways that people are bonded, including through the use of technologies, and also the problems that arise, right? I mean, we haven't reconciled. We have a lot of disagreements. Like, the world has a lot of strife. So I hope that that kind of moral and ethical way of moving through the world and being with other people is something that people take away.
Well, thank you for joining me today, and thank you for all your knowledge and sharing your knowledge with us.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's been an honor. Thanks so much for having us.